Have you ever heard of a prison break so audacious, so perfectly planned, it feels like it was ripped straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster? July 1st, 2018. A high-security prison south of Paris. Think of a fortress of concrete and steel, 17-ton walls, razor wire, and anti-helicopter netting. This place is designed to hold France's most dangerous criminals. In solitary confinement cell 207, inmate number 0010189 waits. This is Rédoine Faïd, the most heavily guarded prisoner in the country. 5 years earlier, he used smuggled explosives to blast his way out of another maximum security lockup. He's a legend, known for 30 high-stakes robberies, including one that tragically ended with a police officer's death. 2 guards pat him down before a family visit. They find nothing but a suspicious pack of gum. He's charming, easygoing, and funny, a master of deception. But prison management is on high alert. They've noticed coded phone calls, a sudden increase in his visitors, and even a drone scouting the facility just days before. Something is coming. 20 miles away, a 65-year-old flight instructor named Stefan greets 2 new students. They have paid €500 in cash to ride in a vintage Alouette 2 helicopter from the 1950s. Stefan thinks they look like they're wearing wigs, but money is money. They ask him to land in an open field, claiming they need a bathroom break. When they return from the trees, they're no longer students. They're armed. They tell Stefan they know where his family lives. They have his address. And if he doesn't do exactly as they say, his loved ones will pay the price. Back at the prison, in a visitor's block intentionally placed far from the main entrance, Rédoine Faïd waits to see his older brother. Faïd isn't just an infamous criminal. He's a best-selling author, an adrenaline junkie, and to many, a folk hero. And he's about to orchestrate an escape that will defy belief. To truly understand the audacity of what's about to happen, we have to go back to 1978. In a cramped apartment in a Paris suburb, 6-year-old Rédoine, the son of Algerian immigrants, shares a home with 9 siblings. He and his older brother had nothing. A store detective catches them stealing and calls them a racial slur. Petits merdeux. That day, they divide their first haul. For his part, Rédoine gets 20 lashes from his father's belt and a promise to never steal again. But that promise didn't last. Rédoine fell in love with French crime thrillers and American gangster movies. He'd watch them over and over until he could recite entire scenes by heart. By his teens, crime wasn't just about need. It was a performance. At 18, he robbed his first bank, holding an employee at gunpoint with a line straight from a movie. "Shut up. Do what I tell you. I've got nothing against you. I only want the money. Think of your children." His heists became more and more cinematic. He and his crew wore rubber masks of famous politicians, just like in Point Break. They showed up in sharp black suits, echoing Reservoir Dogs, even using color-coded aliases like Mr. White and Mr. Blonde. But even these spectacular robberies weren't enough. His real obsession, inspired by Michael Mann's masterpiece, Heat, was the holy grail of robbery: armored trucks. Imagine this. Faïd slams a Renault head-on into a 6-ton armored truck. 5 men in hockey masks, armed with AK-47s, leap out. They move with military precision, slapping an explosive package onto the windshield. The guards surrender, but the sheer volume of cash is overwhelming. It takes too long to move. The police arrive in just 3 minutes. Gunfire erupts. Faïd takes a bullet to the shoulder, but manages to escape, leaving behind a crucial piece of evidence: his DNA. This would eventually land him in jail, but not before one of his earliest, most stunning escapes. After being arrested on a train, he broke free, twisted his ankle jumping from the tracks, and somehow limped into the back of a luxury hotel. Still in handcuffs, he coolly asked the receptionist for change, scooped up the coins, and vanished onto the hotel rooftop. The next day, at a hospital, while pretending to be in crippling pain, he suddenly dropped his crutches, used Krav Maga to disarm 2 officers, took their guns, and ran free for the second time in 24 hours. He was eventually captured and served 9 years. When he was released in 2010, he presented himself as a reformed man. He became a media sensation, promoting his book on talk shows, and even met Michael Mann, the director of Heat, to thank him for the technical advice. When asked if he might return to crime, he swore he had changed. It was all a lie. He was already masterminding another heist, one that would shake the nation. On May 20th, 2010, his crew targeted a cash truck carrying €6 million. Their van crashed during the getaway. When 26-year-old patrol officer and new mother, Aurélie Fouquet, arrived on the scene with her partner, the gang opened fire with assault rifles. 16 bullets hit the patrol car. Officer Fouquet was killed. Faïd had an airtight alibi and even appeared on a documentary as a heist expert, calmly discussing the very murder he had orchestrated. But investigators found surveillance footage that placed him inside the van used by the criminals. He was the mastermind. He was captured again and sent back to high-security prison. Which brings us back to July 1st, 2018 at 11:18 in the morning. A prison guard hears a low hum outside, like a leaf blower. But gardeners don't work on Sundays. On all 4 watchtowers, sentinels receive the radio order, "Unseal." They break the seals on their special cases and grab their HK G36 assault rifles. They watch as the helicopter descends, targeting a gap in the anti-helicopter netting over the honor courtyard, an area no one thought needed protection because prisoners never used it. Crucially, the helicopter isn't landing, it's hovering. Faïd must have known the protocol. Guards are forbidden from shooting at a flying aircraft. He also knew that the pilot, Stefan, was one of the few skilled enough to hold this aging machine steady. Investigators would later discover that Faïd had been writing letters to Stefan's stepdaughter for 2 years, an invisible thread connecting him to the outside world. 2 inmates taking out the trash stare in disbelief. In the cockpit, Stefan is held at gunpoint. 2 masked men in bulletproof vests and carrying AK-47s jump out. One sets off 3 smoke grenades, instantly turning the courtyard into a roaring, blinding whiteout. The second man runs to a reinforced door and raises a 14-inch angle grinder. The screeching blade slices through the locks with terrifying precision. Faïd knows that sound. It's his cue. One follows protocol and calls the Civil Aviation Authority. Another calls the police emergency line and is put on hold. A third contacts local police, who dismiss the call as a prank. High above, the sentinels on the towers are completely blind, their view obscured by the thick smoke. In visiting room 50, Faïd's older brother is stunned. He thought Rédoine was finally ready to change, but in just 40 seconds, the grinder cuts through the final door. Rédoine Faïd storms out, rushes down the corridor, and leaves his brother frozen in his chair. At 11:28 a.m., just 10 minutes after the helicopter arrived, Rédoine steps into the prison courtyard. He sees the 2 inmates who were taking out the trash, brings his hand to his temple, and gives them a crisp Air Force salute. As the helicopter lifts off, dozens of inmates, pressed against the bars of their cells, erupt into a deafening cheer. The news went global. A famous French actress even tweeted, "Bravo, Rédoine Faïd, all of France is with you." The French police declared him the country's most wanted man. 3 months later, authorities tracked him to an apartment in his hometown. He'd been hiding in plain sight, disguising himself in public under a burqa. When he finally stood trial, the security was extreme, including a no-fly zone over the courthouse. A psychiatric assessment called him a social predator, gifted at manipulation. Faïd himself confessed, "I'm addicted to adrenaline." For his Hollywood heists, his role in the death of Officer Fouquet, and his 2 unbelievable escapes, Rédoine Faïd was sentenced to a total of 39 years. His earliest possible release date is 2060. He would be 88 years old, held in solitary confinement since 2019, strip-searched up to 5 times a day, and shackled every time he makes a phone call. Faïd says he feels like he's been buried alive. The man who lived his life like a movie found his final scene behind bars, a permanent cage for a man who could never be tamed. What do you think of this incredible story? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more stories you won't believe are true. See you next time.